Hard to Kill is the second Steven Seagal movie I remember watching all the way through, and it's also the second movie he starred in. It is a pretty cool action film. I remember watching Mark for Death and Hard to Kill in 2006, and those two movies made me a Steven Seagal fan. Mark for Death was on Fox Movie Channel, and Hard to Kill was on American Movie Channel, AMC. Yep, that was back when those channels were great. None of that Walking Dead stuff. No, it's just slop on that channel. Nothing against Walking Dead. I tried watching that once, never got into it. But anyway, um, um, this this is a great '90s classic. Pretty good action, pretty cool one-liners from Seagal, pretty cool fight scenes, martial arts, Aikido. Yeah, watching Steven Seagal got me interested in Aikido, and I did learn a little bit from my uncle who's into martial arts. And the anyway, this is a this is a movie about Seagal playing this cop who's Mason Storm, and he's working undercover at the beginning, spying on these guys. This is set during the 1980s, and the lead bad guy is played by William Sadler, and he records the guy's conversation on this little tape recorder with a long distance. But then they spot him, and he escapes. And William Sadler says, I want you to find out who that is and get him." And on the way home, Seagal listens to this tape, and when he hears William Sadler's voice, he says, I know that voice from somewhere." And then when he stops at this gas station to get some stuff, he gets being held up, and he takes on the bad guys with a smoothie with some martial arts. And he goes home and calls his partner, tells him what happened, and then he says goodnight to his son, help prays with him, good night prayers, and then he starts to make love to his wife. Then the bad guys break into his house and shoot him, while other bad guys break into his partner's house and murder him. And his wife is murdered. Seagal's wife is murdered. His son escapes, and Seagal is left for dead, but he's shot up real bad. And when they get him to the hospital, he dies briefly. Then he comes back to life. And his boss, Lieutenant O'Malley, he tells the doctor, "No, as far as the world is concerned, he is dead. Now, I want you to keep him alive secretly as possible." And he's in this coma section of the hospital, listed as John Doe. He's stays dead and from until like 1990 probably, because that's when this movie came out. And then he's wakes up, and this nurse who has been taking care of him, Kelly, is played by Kelly LeBrock, who is Seagal's real life wife. And she when he wakes up, she fills him in a little on what's happened over the years, and that his wife's dead, his son is missing. And and when Seagal, he says, "You got to get me out of here because somebody might find me and kill me." She says, "I'm sorry, I can't do that." And she has supposedly developed some Florence Nightingale syndrome because the way she talked to him earlier when he was asleep. And yeah, Kelly LeBrock, she's real haughty, and I think Seagal made a mistake divorcing her. Should have stayed with her. Anyway, um, the bad guys come and try to kill him. He escapes from the hospital with the help of his nurse, and they hide out at this old country house, I think, that Seagal had. And it's a place where he spends the next several months, like meditating and do, getting back in shape and then recovering his health. And he falls in love with Kelly LeBrock, of course, and they make love. And I think a bit too soon because you just found out your wife is dead. But whatever. Well, she's his wife in real life, so of course she has to be a love interest. Anyway, okay, the bad guys find out Seagal is alive, and they go to the house to kill him. There's a big battle. He tears him up with his martial arts and his guns, and that him and Kelly LeBrock escape. And then he talks to Lieutenant O'Malley, who tells him that he's been raising Seagal's son when he ran over to his house for help after the night Seagal was almost killed. And I keep saying Seagal, but it's Mason Storm, the character. Anyway, back Seagal, Mason Storm watches TV, and he sees the guy, the senator who he recognized, or whose voice he recognized earlier, and he said, "Senator, I'm going to take you to the bank." It's pretty badass. And then he goes to the mansion. He fights off all the bad guys, and then when he kills the guy who murdered his wife, he takes his broken pool cue, stabs him in the throat, and says, "That's my wife. Fuck you and die." So no, it's pretty badass in that scene. And then he arrests Senator Vernon Trent, the William Sadler character. And okay, he has a sawed off shotgun, and he aims it lower and lower like he's gonna shoot him in the balls, and he's like, he just shoots a hole in the floor and said, "Missed from us. They must be smaller than I expected." And the police come, and he tells them he has evidence on the guy, and they take him away. And then the news media plays a clip from Seagal's old footage of Senator plotting with the bad guys, and then it's over. Yeah, I've spoiled everything. I should have said spoiler first, but I love this movie. I give it 2 thumbs up. Like I said, it's hard to believe that it's such a low rating on IMDb. It's 5.8 stars rating. I give it an 8-star rating, even though that didn't help improve. But Star Wars early movies, I love them. All right, that's it for now. Thank you and God bless you. Bye.